gonna do it.
Well,
No, it's not like for me. I don't have such humongous hobbies outside of the market trading. Yeah, of course, I do like enjoying the environment because I have the lack of living in an environment which is kind of cool. I live in Italy, Tuscany, so the
But
environment out there is pretty cool. So I do like to enjoy time outside. I do like going for a walk or having a
yeah,
run outside or up on the hills, enjoying the
can I,
environment.
can I
But
ask you a question?
yeah,
Um, have you ever considered where you want to be in 5 years' time?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, for me, as yeah, as Falcone was saying, about success, money, whatever, and these sense of fulfillment. I don't really, and I swear, I shit I'm being completely honest right now. I have never thought about making millions in this game. You know what?
Right.
Uh, I know, I know because it is a fact. I know it could be, I could do it. Okay, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. But I know I could do it. But since the moment I started out, I have never thought about being a millionaire. For me, the only reason which brought me to this environment was just having some sort of a plan B, if you want, some sort of a backup plan.
Yeah.
Uh, and it wasn't about just financially or just pure pure money talking. It was a matter of freedom.
yeah,
It
I
was a
mean
matter of
that's a
managing your time.
great
You
point,
know,
man. I mean, like, you know,
I wanted
it
my time back
it's a
essentially.
I think it's a
Yeah.
point where people get it twisted, right? Because like you should try to make as much money as you can in the markets. That's great, but then use it to fund other activities that bring balance to your life and give your life
Yeah,
meaning.
exactly.
You know what I
And
mean? And
yeah,
and not make the money the end goal in itself, right? It's just a means to an end.
oh
And
yeah, I mean Falcone, you really hit me up with that because that's totally my idea. Uh, I honestly, I'm a very humble guy. I come from a very humble family, and I have never thought, never in my life, to be a millionaire or whatever. But for me, it's just I had a look around, and I was basically seeing that the economical circumstances were kind of bad, and I thought, you know what, maybe I need to build up for myself a plan B or a backup plan, and essentially, I think since since when I found out about Bitcoin and I started to dig deeper into the financial system and the monetary system, I was like, you know what? Basically, as for now, I'm working 10 hours a day and I'm paid in a currency which is issued by an entity that can issue an obscene amount of that and it doesn't cost them anything. But they're basically stealing my blood, my sweat, my time, my effort.
Right.
I want something different. I just
well,
it wasn't about the millions. It wasn't about the money. It was about time. I want to have back my fucking time. You know what?
Yeah.
yeah,
Same. Same. Same.
you tie into a
Anyway,
good point where it's that that central bank policy is robbing the balance out of everybody else's life, right? Where they
Yeah, I mean, I do realize I kind of really switched the the topic of conversation, but sorry,
no, it's all right. I mean, it is a fair point. I mean, like people's lives would be much more balanced if they if we didn't live in the current system we live in. And
Yeah,
the other point to mention is that balance actually will improve your trading, right? Because um,
I guess so. Yeah,
yeah,
sometimes
definitely.
if you're if you're more balanced, that means that you're able to disconnect from the market more effectively, and then when you return to the market, you're able to approach it with a much more objective bias. I think if you spend too much time glued to a certain idea, then again, kind of tying back to what we talked about earlier, you can sort of get too attached to it, and then you start to not see the possibilities of other scenarios, and then blind
Yeah.
spots. So in a weird way, that balance probably ends up making you more profitable in the long run anyway. Even if
Yeah, I mean, Falcone, or well, whatever, both of you, can I ask you an honest question? Because uh, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna say that for me personally, I have experience, and I went through, periods where I had, personal issue, whatever it was, family, relationship, uh, my regular job, and when I was really stressed out about whatever, it could be, an argument with my girlfriend or some issue at my regular job, whatever. But for me, it was like, I was really stressed out, and I was probably angry basically. And it happened to me that I was at a point where I was basically bringing my personal issues into the market, and I was kind of, trying to get them back, but into the market, and it never ended up well. Did you have the same
oh,
experience?
I
I'm
actually
just
that
asking for reference.
you really hit a mark right there. I mean, I remember the first time
Yes.
I blew an account, and it was right at the point where I felt really dissatisfied with my personal life. So
Okay,
of
okay.
course I took,
So
I started, especially at work. I was like in my mid 20s, and my career wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and yeah, so of course I started taking way too much risk, right? Way too much
yeah,
leverage. Um,
yeah. Me too. Me too. And I mean, I'm just asking because up until a point, I was thinking that maybe it was just me. It was my personal issue. Maybe I was kind of, you know, traumatizing. I was bringing on my own issues to the market, but I was reading on the internet, or I was talking to people, and gradually I started to see this pattern repeating over and over. People that maybe had personal issues, and in those periods wasn't they weren't able to perform at the top of their A game. So I would like, so maybe it's not just me. Maybe the psychological issue can affect a lot of people, and I
Well,
would
yeah.
like to relate to other guys as well.
yeah,
In
yeah,
case you
definitely.
hadn't noticed on the Discord, I've just come through one of those phases. So that's kind of really quite poignant because life was just really unstable for me for the past 6 months of living the situation, a lot of unknowns going on, and that was completely played out in my trading. And it's
Okay.
I took quite a few losses in ways I wasn't expecting. They were sort of hidden ways, things like having to cash out at the bottom
Yeah.
because you haven't got any time left, and so you just have to cash out. So things like that are quite painful, but they certainly teach you something. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the spike emotionally, the more it'll help to drive to learn how to not have that happen again that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but I think everyone goes through it. I thought I got away with it a year and a half in instead of early on, but I think everybody hits them.
Well,
And
one
it
trait
does,
that
and it does affect
all great
because I
traders
find
have in common is they tend to have like a high level of self awareness.
yeah,
So if so they have the self awareness to know if they're in a compromised mental state, right? Because so like maybe somebody's going through a divorce or some major life situation like that. You can't
Yeah.
get out of that. You can't you but they have the self awareness to know that they're compromised, and then the best thing they can do is not trade, right? And
Yeah. That's some sort of self-defensive mechanism you need to put in place, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and the idea is that the market's always going to be there, right? So if you're in a compromised state, the most ideal thing you can do is not trade, and then come back to the market. It's always going to be there. You can come back when you're no longer compromised.
Yeah, I mean, and it is kind of controversial. Oh no, sorry, Function. Go ahead, please.
How long would you say it takes to get to that point
To
in
get to
your learning? In your
Self-awareness.
learning, yeah. Would you say there's a time where the average person reaches that point where they
Oh,
have the nonce to be able to turn around and say, right, I have to either get out of this trade or stop or not enter this trade, when it's there's a bit more understanding, so it's not just a gamble. Do you think there's a point it's hit? And I'm not talking about the sort of the sine wave of people's equities. It could be really amplified, but I think at some point people suddenly start to learn something after the big crash, the initial learning when you think you know everything and you learn that you don't know nothing. I was wondering how long you think it takes to get, say, halfway back up the curve, which is the point where I'd say you probably start noticing you are learning something, definitely.
I mean, as far as a time frame, I think an important thing to mention is that I believe the trading development process takes a period of 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Contrary to
I
the
totally agree with that. Yeah,
to the
totally.
1 year that people talk about.
Yeah.
So somewhere within there, but it's something you can cultivate as well. I mean, the idea that you had mentioned revenge trading before, and you know, it's hard to say at what point you realize that you can't do that, or that you realize you're in a compromised state. But that's just really hard. Yeah, I don't have a great answer for it. I mean, I think
The average person makes goes through a mistake 7 times before they learn not to do it the next time. Usually, it's like an average for brain function.
There you go. Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah. I don't know, but then it starts to become obvious. I mean, like to me at this point, it's very obvious to me that like if I were to experience a death in the family, that maybe it's time. That's a good time to take a break from the market, right? So, and everybody, you have to take breaks from the market, right? You even if everything's going great, right? Even if there's no personal issues, you still should take breaks from the market just to refresh your ability to think objectively. So if you know you have to take breaks, you might as well take them when you really need to take them, right?
Yep. And Function, spoiler alert, Falcone has just touched on a point which is touched on that video I posted. Breaks from the markets,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess I mean, because I think Falcon just touched on a very good point. Whether you're winning or losing, the market will always gonna take its toll. The amount of stress, psychological stress, it's gonna be there. So sometimes it is really beneficial to you to take a break. It could be. I mean, it is very subjective. For some people, it's gonna be 2 days. 2 days for some other, it's gonna be on 1 week. But regular breaks, I think they are very healthy because you can detach from the market. You can relieve some pressure and getting back at it with a very fresh mind, a very fresh brain, and a very detached view of what is going on. And I think whether you're losing or winning, a good break could just benefit you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Again, it goes back to like bringing balance into your life. So if it kind of ties into like some of the Eastern philosophy, mindfulness, maybe a meditation practice. But the idea is that you want to maintain that calm state of mind, and I think the only way to do that is to take breaks and disconnect every once in a while. And really, so not we mentioned if there's a major death in the family, um, or some big negative personal issue like that, but it's also important to mention the flip side, which is if if there's something amazing happening in your life, and you're way up in profit, and you're entering that stage of euphoria, that's also been a time where I've got hit before. You know, so let's say a big bull market. Um, say the market goes parabolic, right, and you're sufficiently positioned to benefit from that, then and things have gone really parabolic. Well, maybe it's time to take profit targets and go on vacation. You know,
Great idea.
and at least book that profit and make it into something
Uh,
real. And then if the market's still going up, you can still participate when you get back. But you'll be in
yeah,
an objective state of mind. And,
I mean, yeah, well, first and foremost, I totally agree with that, and